Morning, friends. You're catching me with my morning coffee. The house is quiet because Annalise went to her grandmother's last night. I just got a photo of her dipping her toes into a swimming pool. It was insanely cute. And I'm enjoying a morning where I just get to sit and drink my coffee. It's lovely every once in a while. And I had a thought, funny enough, as I was making my coffee. It was like more of an impression. Because I've been thinking about, I'm still, I finished Sadhguru's book, Karma, I guess it was on the way to New York. But I still try to check in with him like kind of once a day. He's doing this epic motorcycle ride across Europe and Asia right now. So I occasionally just grab a video and see what he's up to. And something that's been coming back over and over in his speeches and his videos is 4 levels or 4 dimensions of our experience that we want to take control of, that we want to have or have awareness of. It's the mind, the body, emotions, and energy. And the energy level is I don't think that it's intended to be understood as physical energy or how the body feels. That's the body. Energy is more like the field of energy or chi. In Qigong, the practices that I've done have given me, I would say, kind of an intro course, not an in-depth course, but a kind of introductory course to varying levels of subtlety of energy, and the kind of, nested membranes of energy that kind of form our energetic body. And this morning, I was thinking about the various practices I have in my life, and funny enough, even before I knew anything about Sadhguru or before he had before I was influenced by his thinking at all, I already sort of had practices for body, mind, energy, and to some extent emotion. I think emotion is one that, for me, it's maybe the one that I don't emphasize, or that sort of slips. I bundle it into the mind a little bit, and it's been really powerful over the last year or two, couple years, to really get connected with emotion as a dimension, and to kind of separate it from the mind, because so frequently, I think that in our culture, I can only speak for myself, but I don't think that I'm generalizing. I think this generalization is probably generally true. We have such a mind-centric worldview. So emotional experiences get filtered through the mind. Energetic experiences. This is what I had a felt sense impression of this morning. I felt that I noticed something happening in my consciousness. It was just a little like a dip in energy. And I associated it with a thought or a mental formulation, but then I was like, wait, that's not a thought. That's a movement in my energy body that just happened. And interpreting it on the level of thought actually is like it means I'm looking in the wrong place. It means I'm looking at the result of something, the effect of a cause, but I'm not but I'm not seeing the cause. I'm not, in other words, I'm not seeing what's happening very clearly because I'm looking at the result in another domain and not really noticing, oh, this is an energetic movement. So that was what I caught. I was like, oh wait, no, that's my energy body. And then I connected with my energy body, and it immediately clarified, oh, that was a fluctuation on another level of consciousness, but I'm tempted to interpret it, and it's almost like I don't experience it unless it happens in the mind. And I think emotion can be very similar for us in that way. Emotion gets formulated as thought, and then we get attached to those thoughts, and we think those thoughts, or we express those thoughts, or we repress those thoughts, or whatever we do with the thoughts. But the emotion itself, just the experience of sitting with that dimension, is not a common practice. I think that's something that's one that maybe we have to work on a little more. And even the body, I think that even physical movements in the physical body can sort of be off. They can remain offline in our awareness until they somehow affect our thinking, or they affect our mind. And so I'm just this isn't a phenomenon or a situation that I have any real handy answers to, but I think the observation that I am incredibly mind centric, and that I will frequently take experiences that are emanating from other domains and that are actually really occurring on non-mind levels of my being, and turn them into or view them through the little tiny pinhole of mental experience. Just knowing that that's something that I do is helpful, because it means that I can be on the lookout for when that might be happening. It means that as just like what happened this morning, I can feel something happen. I can feel something in my mind, and then it's like I attribute it. The mind is this amazing machine. It's literally a computer. That's the funny thing. Like I think my mind is this free. I've grown up in this sort of like liberal humanist tradition, Western liberal thought tradition that I've grown up in. I'm conditioned to believe that the mind is this free organism, but it's a binary computer. It's literally the more I observe the mind, the more I see it's binary. It works like a computer does. It takes an input and it tries to explain what the input means, and it formulates an appropriate response to that input that's based on a desire to keep me alive, to further my capacity to thrive, or whatever. But the mechanism of the mind is incredibly simple at its core. It's only because it's infinitely powerful and it's interpreting influences from an entire universe that the mind kind of feels like this vast, open, amorphous, crazy, constantly changing, and in some ways free thing. But once we kind of see, the more that I see what it's really doing in every moment, and that the origin of thought is not the mind. The origin of thought is a whole other level of our being, and ultimately it's something, beyond even beyond our consciousness. And the mind is just interpreting that. The mind is just churning, it's taking in data, it's processing data, and it's spitting out data. That's all it's doing. It's amazing to see that, because it's sort of like, if that's really true, then I could make my mind think anything by changing the input. It's what goes in. It's the incoming data that the mind is processing that affects what it does. And also I think understanding what it's doing. I think understanding that the mind is continuously operating on behalf of our survival, whether or not that's what we would consider an appropriate motive in a given situation. That's what it's going to be trying to do. Madeline gave me some feedback on a recent lesson where she sort of like was acknowledging my the kind of quickness of my mind and the kind of intelligence of my mind, while at the same time saying, drop into your heart. Music is from the heart. It's not the mind. It's wonderful to have a good mind, and it can be helpful. There's all kinds of things that a mind will help you do when it comes to music, but it will not make music. It has a job. It has a function that is subsidiary to other aspects of our being, in terms of truly, fully having something to express through music. So I'm just clocking this experience in a way that I think I never have. And it's interesting to talk it through, because it really does illuminate the kind of limitations of the mind, even as it's one of the most amazing things in the world. It's more advanced than any computer we've ever built. It's still just a computer. At least that's my experience this morning. Thanks for watching, folks. Appreciate you. Love you. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow.